Welcome back to Success with Steven. My name is Steven Smith. On this channel, we talk about everything financial literacy. And today, we're going to be talking about the Navy Federal Secured Credit Card, but we're going to be talking about graduation. Now, this is a card that I started with. It was the first card that I had with Navy Federal. That card went on to become a cash rewards card, which enabled me to get the Go Rewards card, which enabled me to get the Go Biz Rewards card, which will enable me to convert this to a flagship at some point. So I just wanted to talk about exactly how you can get that process started. I realized I have a video that talks about this and how you can get $80,000 in credit line with Navy Federal. But this is going to be a more in-depth video on how to get started with that process by first graduating your secured card, because I didn't see any really easily outlined steps on YouTube. So if you're a new member of Navy Federal who's rebuilding or building credit for the first time, I highly recommend that you use the N Rewards Secured Credit Card. Within the first 6 months of you having this card, you can potentially graduate and you'll receive a cash rewards card with a limit normally of at least $2,000. Now, we're going to talk about exactly what a secure card is. If you're unfamiliar with it, if this is your first time hearing about that, essentially, this card will be the gateway to you getting a flagship credit card and beyond with Navy Federal. So in this video, again, we'll outline step-by-step instructions of how I personally graduated this card and how you can as well and get that high limit with Navy Federal. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So this is what we're going to be discussing as an overview for today. We're going to be discussing exactly what the N Rewards Secure Card is, how much you should deposit for this card, some customer service data points that I learned early on, and then the steps that I took to get this card to graduate. I'll also give you some things to remember at the end just to keep in mind so that if you do have this card but you haven't graduated yet, it might shed some light on why that is the case, okay? So let's start by talking about what the N Rewards card is. A secure card basically works just like a credit card, except you have to give money in order to secure your credit line. Normally, a regular credit card is called an unsecured line of credit because the bank is giving you that credit line so that you can use it and pay it back. Only thing that's different about this one is that you will use your own money as collateral to make the credit line for this card. So a secure card, again, is just like a regular credit card, except it requires a security deposit, and your deposit is returned to you when you close your credit card account or switch to an unsecured card. If you have no credit or you have a low credit score, a secure card can provide you a path to building or repairing your credit. As you use your card, you'll earn rewards while also earning some dividends on your deposit that's held in your savings account. So that's another cool thing. If you have Navy Federal and you notice that every once in a while you'll see like, 10 cents, something else going into your account, you're actually earning dividends on your deposit as it's sitting as your credit line. So that's one thing that I think is really amazing about this card. You don't really see that very often with secure credit cards. So in the case of Navy Federal, just know that your money isn't just going to waste. You're earning a little bit of money just from having that secure credit line. All right, now let's actually go on to the Navy Federal website, and then we're going to look at some of the features and benefits of the N Rewards Secure Card before we discuss graduation. All right, so right now we are on the Navy Federal website for the N Rewards Secure Credit Card, and just know that at the time of recording, anything that you see as far as APR is going to be what was, what was available at the time. So you earn rewards while building or rebuilding your credit. So you can make a deposit as low as $200 and you could be eligible for a credit limit increase in as little as 3 months. So just be aware that in a 3-month time frame, you can be eligible for an increase on this credit card. That does not mean that it will graduate right to a unsecured version. It just means that you will be eligible for a credit line increase in as little as 3 months. It's a possibility. Now, here are some of the features and here are some of the benefits of this card. You get 1x points per dollar spent. There are some helpful tools on Navy Federal through the app and the website for credit building. At the 3 months, again, you can be eligible for an automatic increase that provides you with additional credit. That does not mean that it graduated, but you may get a higher credit limit. At 6 months, your account will be reviewed to see if you're eligible for an upgrade to the cash rewards card. Once the 6-month mark passes, you will then subsequently be reviewed every single month to see if you're eligible to graduate. Okay. Now let's talk about the rates and fees. The rates on this card is 18% APR. That is the interest that you'll have on this card. If you're using this card to graduate, we should never be getting interest. So this really shouldn't matter no matter what this changes to. It shouldn't matter. Now for fees, there are no annual fees. There are no balance transfer fees, of course, for a secured card. No foreign transaction fees, no cash advance fees. So just keep all that in mind. And then again, here are 4 steps to how this is going to work. You deposit at least $200. You can have up to $5,000 for a credit line on the secured card. And you would deposit this into your savings account with Navy Federal. You submit your application just like you would submit it for any other credit card. If you're approved, because you can be denied. I normally don't see it unless you file for bankruptcy. Then there's a potential you could be denied. But if you are approved, they'll hold that deposit as a security, and the amount that you're using for your deposit will become your spending limit. Number 3, after just 3 months, you can be eligible for a credit line increase. You do not have to add to your deposit, so you don't have to add any money to be eligible. This is just going to be something that is a possibility that can be done. It just depends on other factors. And after 6 months, they'll review your account monthly to see if you're eligible for an upgrade to the Cash Rewards unsecured card. Once you upgrade, you will get your security deposit back. Making on-time payments and keeping your balance under the credit limit can help you get approved for an upgrade to the unsecured version. So they even give you some ideas of how you can actually move up to that card in a very short time frame. So now that we've discussed all of the features and benefits and how the in-reward cards actually work, let's get into some more actionable steps that we can take. And then we're going to talk about how much exactly you should deposit for this particular secure credit card. Now, I'm sure that you're wondering this because I was wondering this too when I first got this card. How much should I deposit for this secure card option? Now, here's what I recommend, and here's what I learned personally. I learned that it doesn't matter what you deposit for this card. You can deposit the minimum of $200. That's what I did. But there are some benefits if you deposit more. So here's what I recommend. I recommend you deposit what you can. From my own research and my personal experience, the amount of the deposit doesn't play a factor in the graduation process. It doesn't play a factor. You can start with $200, or you can deposit whatever you feel comfortable up to $5,000 because that is the maximum. All right. However, if you start with a higher deposit than $2,000, when you graduate, your limit will be your initial deposit. So keep that in mind. So check this out. When you graduate, if you only put $200 in, your credit limit's going to only be $2,000. That's going to be it. Now, on the contrary, let's say you were to deposit $5,000. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes they'll give you your $5,000 back, but give you a different limit. But let's say that you deposited $5,000 and you graduated. As long as, Navy Federal allows, you can then get a $5,000 limit on a cash rewards card. And as I've told you before, if you have at least $5,000 on that card, you can then do a product change to a flagship. So in as little as 6 months, if you were to get upgraded, you could look at doing something like that. Now, I want to also keep in mind, you're supposed to have that same product for a year before you can graduate to a flagship. But I have seen some people who have contacted customer service and were able to do the product change prior to that year. Now, again, there's been conflicting information, but you can try. Worst case, In a year's time, you can have a flagship credit card, right? And then after 6 months from your graduation date, then you can ask for a $8,000 credit limit increase. So that is a huge benefit. In the best case scenario, what I'm trying to say is if you were to start with 5,000, if everything was to go smoothly, you graduate in 6 months, you can possibly go to a flagship card, and in 1 year, you can have a flagship card with a $13,000 limit coming from having a secured card. I think that's amazing. That's a sound strategy, and that's something that you can do if you have extra money. If you don't have $5,000 to use as a secured limit, that's okay. You don't have to use $5,000. You can use as low as $200 like me. If you use as low as $200, guess what's going to happen? You'll graduate, you'll get $2,000 for your limit. At that point, 6 months later, you can then ask for a $8,000 limit increase. You will now have a card with $10,000. And if you want to switch over to a flagship or whatever other Navy Federal card product, you'll have a card with $10,000. It's only a $3,000 difference from the person that did the $5,000 deposit. So as you can see, it's something that you can do, but you don't really have to do. So again, with all that being said, my recommendation, do what you can do comfortably. Do what's feasible for you, and know that it won't make that much of a difference what you deposit. What's more important is having good habits when it comes to paying on time and utilization. Okay? That's what's the most important. So hopefully that answers that deposit question. Now let's talk about some customer service data points. Now, I spoke with a representative from Navy Federal. This was through the chat, and this is exactly what was said. I screenshot it, pretty much just copied it, and I pasted it to here. So this is what I was told. The review of your account will be based on an evaluation of your TransUnion FICO 9 credit score, including credit card account history at Navy Federal. Factors such as, but not limited to, outstanding balances, payment amounts, payment frequency, and payment history may also be considered in your review. Since this process is automated, we do not manually review account for unsecuring. If an account meets all required criteria, the conversion is processed systematically and the card is converted to an unsecured account at the same APR. This hold is released on the secured funds as part of the process. If the account does not qualify at the 6-month anniversary of the card, it is subsequently reviewed each month thereafter until it does qualify for a conversion. This is what I got directly from Navy Federal before I graduated. So with that being said, it's done systematically. They review your account based off of these qualifying factors. So you don't have to call and ask. They'll do it. I don't know if they have a manual review process. I believe everyone does. But just know that it's done systematically. After the 6-month mark, they will review your account. All right. So I took all this information and I basically came up with a game plan of how I was going to get this card to graduate. I did end up getting it graduate. I did end up graduating this card. For me, it took 12 months, but there were some things I believe that made it take an extra 6 months. I believe that with good habits, you can do this within 6 months. One thing I do want to mention, you can ask them for a lower APR. So that's something that I did learn too. When you graduate, you can contact them and ask them to lower the APR on your card. So that is an option for you. But now let's get into the steps that I took based off of these customer service data points that I received. All right, here are the steps that I took, and I'll kind of do some explaining as well with these steps. So step 1, this is what I did. I set up an automatic payment that's 10% or less of my total utilization. I'm going to tell you why. And if this explanation isn't helpful, I have a video that talks about how credit card statements work, because you need to understand something. You need to have a balance report every single month to the credit bureaus. Not only will that actually help with your payment history, it'll show that you're using this credit card. You need to show activity. Some people, it's confusing for them because they're like, well, if I have a balance on my credit card, doesn't that mean I earn interest? No. Credit cards have cycle dates. You use your credit card, your cycle date closes. Whatever balance that you had on your card when the cycle date closed is what gets reported to the credit bureaus. Okay? And then you pay it the next month on the due date. That's why you should have one automatic payment that's always going to report 10% or less. So for example, if you have a $200 credit limit on your secured card, set up an auto pay for $20. The auto pay will be charged to your card. When your billing cycle date closes, it reports to the credit bureaus you used $20 of your $200 limit. That's 10%. Now it looks like, oh, you're responsible. The credit line doesn't matter. The amount doesn't matter. Utilization just means what you're using and contrary to what you have available. Don't worry about the limit. Just worry about what you have available and then 10% of that. Okay. So whatever that is, that's what we're focusing on. Okay. So let's say you have $20 out of $200. Every month you're guaranteed to report an on-time, a 10% utilization. You then pay it after your cycle date closes. Again, it'll charge. The new one will charge. It'll report, so on and so forth. You've just put yourself in a situation where your utilization will always be perfect. Okay, that's step one. Step two, make 5 transactions per month other than the auto pay. So I've said this before. How credit card issuers make money is by you making transactions. They get an interchange fee. So if you want to help Navy Federal make money, spend on that card. Here's what I suggest. We all have to get gas, right? Get gas on your card. If gas is $50, whatever, $60, $70. If you have a larger vehicle, maybe it's at most like $100 something for your gas. Do a transaction for gas. Immediately transfer the money from your checking account and just pay it. There's a good chance you're going to get gas at least 5 times in a month. Just pay it right away. Okay? Make 5 transactions per month other than your auto pay and pay them in full immediately. Doing this shows that you're using the card actively and you're making money for Navy Federal. Just use the card actively, pay it back immediately. Use it, pay it back. Let the auto pay one, cross the cycle date, but those other transactions that you're doing just, regular, pay them as soon as you make them. That's it. You just want to have some more activity. Cool. All right. So step 3, and this is important too, make sure your TransUnion FICO 9 score has 100% on-time payments from the day you open this account, and try your best to remove any derogatory information. Now, here's what I think. A majority of the derogatory marks that I had with TransUnion came off around December of 2023. This is the reason why I think my account did not graduate after 6 months. But if you start taking some of that stuff off, or you don't have any, you could probably get this card graduated within 6 months. You need to make sure that not only are you taking care of this card, but from the day you get this card, you have on-time payments and your utilization and everything is good with everything. So here's the thing, guys. A credit report is literally a report card of how well you pay on time. If you knew me and I was your friend and everyone told you Steven never pays back money, would you loan me money if you know I don't pay back anybody else? If I don't pay anybody else back, then why would I pay you back? Just think about it like that. Like, really, come on. If you don't pay other people back on time, or you have late payments with, all these other guys, why would you pay this one back on time? So it's not just so much about, again, these things are based off of algorithms. No one's personally attacking you. No one's personally attacking your character or who you are. You just have to have good spending habits, good financial habits, and pay back stuff on time. If you're not paying back stuff on time, these are algorithms. They go off of behaviors. Algorithms just tell you the nature of someone's behavioral patterns. Money is psychological, and that's the honest to God truth. If you're bad with money, you need to kind of reflect and understand why you have bad financial habits. A lot of times it's not because we don't have the money to pay stuff back. It's more of an internal issue. That's something completely different. I don't want to turn this from finance to psychology. Okay, that's an internal issue that needs to be resolved. Whatever that problem is, resolve it, start figuring out how to have a better relationship with money, and then take care of your TransUnion FICO 9 score, pay back everyone on time. Okay? That is step 3. That's my recommendation. So again, towards the very end of the year, right before I graduated, I didn't get a lot of stuff deleted, and I had a whole year of doing nothing but just good financial habits and just cleaning up credit. That's all I did for a whole year. And eventually, after my 12-month mark, I still had 2 derogatories left, 2 charge-offs. The account still graduated with 2 charge-offs on my credit report. So I believe that as long as you're doing that, you're cleaning stuff up, it will definitely help. And you guys know I have plenty of resources and information on this channel for you to be able to figure that out. Okay? Now, again, some more things that I want you to keep in mind, and these are just kind of randoms, but keep in mind that this card, it will result in a hard pull. Yes, I have videos on removing hard inquiries. Should you remove a hard inquiry for an account that you want to keep? The answer is no. If you get a hard pull on this one, leave it. Leave it. Do not remove it. Okay? You want to use the pre-approval tool first. So if you're watching this video, don't just get the secure card first. Use the pre-approval tool first to see if you qualify for the cash rewards card. You may not actually need to get the secure card option. You may qualify for one of the other cards. Oddly enough, you just might. So I would suggest that you do that first before you go with this option. Now, if all else fails and you don't qualify, then yes, you can fall back onto this option. In the scenario, if you got 2 hard inquiries, trying to get these cards, remove the one where you did not get qualified. That one is okay to remove. All right. And again, I cannot emphasize this anymore. Your credit profile still plays a huge factor. So yes, Navy Federal has an internal scoring model. I have a video on that about, information of how to get a 450 internal score with Navy Federal. While your internal score is based off of your personal relationship with Navy Federal, you do have to understand that your credit profile plays a huge factor in what you get approved for. These are models set in place to approve you based off of financial spending habits. Okay? That is it. It's that plain and simple. If you need to clean it up, clean it up. Again, no matter how many videos you watch on cleaning up credit, if you don't change the way you think about money, you'll fall back into the same habits and then it won't help. These are just a few things that I want you to keep in mind, and I can't think of anything else that I feel like was a huge factor. But follow those steps that were outlined in this video and you should have no problem graduating. And if you do have the InReward Secure card and you have not graduated yet, I can almost guarantee your answers are probably going to start in your TransUnion FICO report. So I hope that this video does help you. I hope that you're able to use this information to get your InRewards card and graduate in the shortest amount of time that you possibly can. Or if you weren't able to do that, hopefully this information helped you understand why you have the InRewards card and it has not graduated yet. And hopefully you're able to actually use some of these steps in order to get this card to graduate. And then check out that $80,000 credit limit video. You can then follow those steps to just, continue to raise this limit and then reap the rewards of having Navy Federal as your bank. And then also get other products. You can then look at mortgage products. You could then look at auto products. There's a lot of business products. There's a lot of good products that you can look at with Navy Federal that I highly recommend that you check out. They have some of the best interest rates that you can possibly get, as well as nice high limits. One last thing I want to mention before I wrap this video up, because it just came to mind. You can actually pre-qualify for other cards even before you graduate. I know that sounds weird, but even if you have the secured card, but you know you have a good TransUnion score, check the pre-qualification tool. If you see that you pre-qualify for some other cards, like the flagship, the cash rewards, go rewards, apply for them. Apply for them. Look, worst case, if you get denied, you'll get a letter in the mail. You'll get your internal score. If you get denied or approved for anything, you get a letter in the mail that will give you your internal scores. And some people were asking me that, but that's a way to get your internal score. You have to apply for something, and whether you're approved or you're denied, you'll get it. Hey, worst case, if you're denied, yes, you have the hard inquiry, remove it. On top of that, you also get your internal score, so you'll have a good idea of where you stand and what your position is with Navy Federal, and then you could do some things to strengthen your internal score. But just know that even if you haven't graduated, you can still qualify for some of the other cards. Check that pre-qualification tool. That is something that I would always, check maybe monthly just to see what you can get. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it if you made it to the end of the video. If you do have the N Rewards card and you have used some of these steps in order to graduate, please let me know in the comments below. And let other people know how long it took you to actually graduate so they can get an idea of how long it might take them. You guys can share tips and information just to help each other actually become a resource and, help everyone who's not had this card actually figure out what they can do and come up with a good strategy in order for them to graduate as well. Again, thank you so much for watching. Leave any comments in the video if you have any questions or concerns, and you guys have a wonderful day.